Hey, and welcome to today's episode. And well, I have already introduced myself to the guest as I'm a little bit of a fangirl of this topic and this subject. So I'm super excited to welcome Howard Martin from the HeartMath Institute to the podcast. Welcome, Howard.
Emma, good to be with you. And thanks for being a fangirl.
Oh my God, massive fangirl. I actually remember I have some like defining moments in my life because I listened to a lot of books, and I remember listening to the Heart Math book. It's got to be like a decade ago, and I remember you even just jumping on and hearing your voice. I'm like, wow, it's you. This is the voice that I was listening to, and that really started this journey for me of falling in love with the work that you do. And I'm going to share a few personal things, and my audience actually knows how much I use the heart coherence meditation, but we'll get into all of that in a moment. Before we do, I'd really love to hear a bit about your journey. I talk a lot about how our purpose kind of kicks off in our dark night of the soul. Like when we find ourselves like in a ditch, we're in this place where we're kind of like, what am I doing with my life? Why is everything, seemingly going wrong? And then there's this little part of us that goes, actually, it's going right. And it's that moment that we start to, believe in ourselves, believe in the journey, and initiates us into this pathway that ultimately becomes who we are today. So I'd really love to hear a little bit about your journey your hero's journey to be who you are today.
Well, first of all, let me confirm what you said. I think that life is full of moments in time when we make choices. There's choices set about different energetic momentums that take us down certain roads in life, sort of unfolding the blueprint of our life. And sometimes the choices that we're making at the time, they're obviously important, and sometimes they're not. But they all add up to sort of how we move through this lifetime and how we sort of paint the picture of life as we go. For me, a long time ago now, I'll be giving away my age a lot as I begin to describe this, but many years ago, as a very young man, around 21, back in those days, it became sort of trendy in a way to begin to explore some form of spirituality. At that time, it was like Eastern spirituality. I remember reading a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, and it proved to be a bridge builder for millions of people between Eastern and Western understanding. And it was that for me as a very young man. And I began to have an interest in exploring that. At the time, my lifestyle was not conducive to that type of exploration. I was a rock drummer, professional rock drummer is what I did for a living back then. And in that lifestyle, spirituality is not necessarily at the forefront of what you're doing. I'll just leave it at that. But along the way, early on, I met a man named Doc Childry. And he was just a few years older than me, but I became aware pretty quickly that he was a heck of a lot smarter than me. There was an awareness that this guy had that I didn't have. And he became a friend. He, in the beginning, let me know real quick, he wasn't trying to be a teacher or a mentor or any of that. He was simply trying to befriend me. And I remember one day when I was sort of rejecting that with him, he said to me, all he was about bringing out the greatness in great people. And that's what he wanted to do for me. And it touched my heart. And so, his approach to spirituality was very pragmatic, very bottom line, but very heart-centric at the same time. We'd all read many books, studied many things, and I certainly continued all those kind of readings and studies. And it couldn't help but notice that so many of the references were taking people back to the heart, an understanding of heart. So, Doc, myself, and others, we began to try to explore what heart was. We weren't soft, touchy, squeezy kind of people, but if we were reading about it that much, let's see what's there or not. And what we found was along the way is it was changing our life, and that there was an intelligence there. It wasn't just about sweet things. It just wasn't about, sort of surface level love. It was about something much, much deeper. And that exploration continued for many, many years. I eventually left the music business. I went back to where he was and where my friends were in a very rural area of a place in the United States called Eastern North Carolina, the Bible Belt South, a very conservative area. There was nothing around us to support what we were doing. And that turned out to be a blessing because we weren't pulled in so many directions. We were self-creating our own path, and we continued that exploration, and one thing led to another. And after about 15 years and having met some people in California, we decided that we'd form an organization. It didn't have a name at the time. None of what we were doing had any names. We weren't doing it out of ambition, but we felt that we were at a point in our life where we had something we could share. So we started what became HeartMath back in 1991. A long, long time ago, back in
Well, it's the year
1991.
before I finished school. So I'm like, yep, I
Yeah.
remember 1991.
Yeah, we started it then, and we started literally with not much, just our belief and our love and our friendships, and a desire to put out some kind of a system that could help people through a transitional time that we knew we were in, and a transitional time that we felt would accelerate, and that things would become increasingly difficult for people, for humanity. What could we do to help? So we decided we'd base our system around something people already had, which was the beautiful, magnificent hearts that each person has. And so, we didn't reinvent anything, but we started to put together something that made more sense of that. Early on in that process, Emma, we recognized that heart had been talked about for thousands of years, and that somehow it primarily had remained in the respected but confining worlds of spirituality and philosophy, and that what it needed was a pragmatic understanding that could be applied into how we lived our lives. How do we put the qualities of what's been called heart at the forefront of how we conduct ourselves in this game of life? To build that bridge, we chose science. We recognize that science carries a lot of weight in our modern society. When science proves something to be true, the power of belief in what that was increases. And so we chose to go the route of scientific exploration to explain heart. So I'm going high speed now. So that was
Oh, I love it. I'm loving every second of it. Keep
a
going.
long time ago, and it's gone through many, many different iterations. And today we have HeartMath, which has become a very sophisticated organization. Two organizations, actually: HeartMath Inc., which is who I'm with, and HeartMath Institute. And we have separate missions and roles, but one central mission, and that's to create a heart-based world and to help people through this transitional time with more love, care, and compassion, and to do it in a pragmatic way. The science that we were doing, and we could talk about that, I'm sure we will, has gone into many, many different areas, and that gave us the ability to transfer our information into mainstream society. And so we were doing all kinds of work in major corporations, healthcare institutions, government agencies, all kinds of places where you wouldn't ever think heart would be. And we were doing that, in a pretty large way. So today, where we are is that, 35 years later, we are one of the bigger brands in this space. We've done a tremendous amount of work. We are helping people in a meaningful way, millions and millions of people a year, every single year. And I think, Emma, the most exciting part of it is still unfolding. There's no ceiling on it. I still feel youthful, almost childlike in a way at times. Ask my wife, and excited about what we're doing and about what we're bringing to the world. And I think that's the beauty of it. And people ask me often, well, you've become a best-selling author. You've got this role with HeartMath, and you started literally with nothing. You were a rock drummer. I mean, how did all this happen? And the simple way of describing it would be to use a hackneyed term, but it's a term that makes a lot of sense to me. It all happened because I learned how to listen to and follow my heart.
Oh my God, I love that. And yes, I think for me personally, as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as a human, I think that's one of the greatest things that I've learned to do is to follow my heart. And, I talk a lot about human design, and I feel like our design is like this amazing blueprint. And then the moment that we can actually come into coherence, it's like, wow, everything's like switched on, lined up. And then we just have to learn to listen and receive and respond and all of those things. But the first thing I want to respond to, because it's not lost on me, that you would spend a career focusing on the heart and you started as a drummer, like heartbeat, drum, like surely that was like a, something that was coming in the future type thing. I love that. And I also loved what you said, that Doc said, bringing out the greatness in great people. I feel like this is a lot of my mission on the planet. And just to hear that, I think that is so beautiful, because it's, to bring out greatness in others, we must first be able to see the greatness in ourselves. And I think that is such a beautiful kind of mission, just that I wanted to kind of highlight. Okay, so let's talk about let's talk about heart-brain coherence. Let's talk about, because I think you guys were just off the chart smart, and yes, following your hearts by going down the science road, because, you know, as many of my listeners know, you know, Dr. Joe Dispenza picked it up. That was kind of huge for you guys as well, and it's given you this validity that has been able to give you access to places that so many other people in our category, you know, one of my missions is to take human design mainstream, like out of the small group to the big group. And we're doing a pretty good job of that. But let's actually talk about what specifically is it that, like, why do we want heart coherence? Why is, in fact, let's take a step back again. Why is the heart so important?
Well, it's important in a couple levels. Think about it this way: we have two hearts. We have a physical heart and an energetic heart. The physical heart's obviously important to our body. It's the central part of everything about us, and of course, it's the most reliable pump that there ever has been, and that's what people think that it does. But early on, what our scientists, Dr. Shoulder and our scientific team, began to discover is that the heart was more than a blood pump. It was actually an information processing center in the body, and that the heart was sending information to the brain and throughout the entire system. Information being sent by the heart was critical to things like brain function, how our entire physiology functioned, and that all the major systems in the body, whether they be respiration, digestion, immune system response, hormonal response, brain function, all of that was synchronizing to the drummer, to the rhythmic beating pattern of the heart. And so we began to see that. So what we did is we began to tell a new story about the physical heart. And that story began to confirm what people had felt about heart and what they'd been hearing about heart philosophically. We showed that it is, something more than a blood pump. And we were able to tell a story that people could understand about the heart communicating with the brain and the rest of the body in 4 different ways. It'll probably be, on my tombstone if I had one.
I love it.
Because I've said it so much,
Yeah. And you're about to say it again, right?
Yeah, I'm about to say it again. Yeah, I am by this time. Yeah, it communicates in 4 ways. It's first of all, the heart has a nervous system. It's next to the brain. It's the most complex part of the nervous system that we have. It's studied through a field called neurocardiology. Most people don't know that. Very sophisticated nervous system living inside the physical heart. That nervous system is sending information to the brain. It starts in a nerve pathway in the heart and travels this way, not this way. And it goes all the way up into the higher perceptual centers of our brain, to the neocortex. And brain function, as I said earlier, is really critically dependent upon this communication coming from the heart. So the brain is sending information to the heart, which controls timing, but the heart is information back to the brain. It turns out that the heart is sending a lot more information to the brain than it receives from the brain. So what I'm trying to say is there's a conversation going on right now in each and every one of us, you, me, and everyone who's listening to the podcast. There's a conversation happening between the heart and the brain, and the heart's doing most of the talking. And that's the first way. The second way is what's called a biophysical communication. If you or anyone, we place our finger on our wrist, we naturally feel our pulse. What is the pulse? The pulse is actually a wave of energy created by the squeezing of the heart muscle, and that wave of energy is pushing the blood through the veins and the arteries. And so that creates what's called a blood pressure wave. It goes throughout the entire body. That's how blood gets to your toes or to your ear. It's going through the whole system. And the blood pressure wave modulates. It changes depending upon how the heart is beating, the rhythmic patterns that the heart is beating in. And as it changes, the blood pressure wave changes, and blood pressure waves influence every part of our physiology, including the brain. It turns out higher perceptual centers in the brain are synchronized to the blood pressure wave.
Wow.
Second way. Third way is interesting. It's hormonally. This is one of those things where I call it a who knew. All the way back in 1983, researchers discovered that the heart was producing hormones. And they reclassified the physical heart as being not just a cardiovascular organ, but a hormonal gland.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, in 1983. But who knew this, right? And we began to discover these things as we did our research. So the heart's producing a number of hormones, and they're very regenerative. One of those, many of your listeners have probably heard of, is called oxytocin. It's generically called a love hormone. Well, the heart's producing a lot of oxytocin, a very regenerative hormone produced often when we're in a loving state, like a mother with a young baby, or we're in a trusting situation, for example, producing more oxytocin. Another one is called DHEA, which is the anti-aging hormone.
Mm-hmm.
It's being produced by the heart. Who
Wow.
knew, right? So you have this biochemical communication. There's the first three ways. Those are all well documented, well understood, well researched, lots and lots of published literature around those communications. We brought it to the forefront of understanding and put it into simple terms when the little Southern guy like me can explain it to people, right?
I love that.
The fourth way is where it gets really cool, though. It's the energetic communication. Your heart is an electrical organ. It produces by far the strongest source of bioelectricity in our bodies. When we go to a physician and the physician wants to do an electrocardiogram, think about what that term says, electrocardiogram. They're putting electrodes on the chest and they're measuring an electrical signal being produced by the heart. The heart produces enough bioelectricity that it goes to every single cell in our body, in a sense like binding the cells together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's where the interesting part starts. It produces enough electrical energy that it creates a magnetic field that surrounds our body in 360 degrees. The most conservative way to measure magnetic fields is with instrumentation called magnetometers. They measure magnetic fields. Very conservative. Standard measurement of any magnetic field, they measure it with a magnetometer. Using magnetometers, our scientists were able to determine that that field produced by the heart was extending outside our bodies about 1 meter, about 3 feet or 1 meter, depending on how you what measurement system you use. It's extending outside of the body. Now, as we began to look at that field and analyze the field, we could see that it was changing, and that what was modulating and changing the field was our emotions. If we were feeling a strong negative emotion, let's say we're frustrated, we're angry, we're watching the news and we hate what we see. Somebody at work says something to us that really irritates us and we start judging them, all of that. When we're in that kind of an emotional state, it produces an incoherent field, a very chaotic magnetic field. And that field, again, is we're broadcasting the information to every cell in our bodies and out into space. Conversely, when we switch into an emotional state, like the kind of emotions that have been associated with heart, like we become more caring, more loving, kind, compassionate, understanding, those type of emotions, the field changes. It becomes a more coherent, ordered field. And guess what? We're broadcasting that out into space. So what we were showing is we're literally broadcasting our emotions through the heart's field. Now, fields relate to one another, Emma, and we interface at an electromagnetic or magnetic level all the time when we're with people. So we began to look over the years at what happens in groups of people, what happens in large groups of people when you have these collective fields modulating and changing. And when you create a coherent field amongst a large number of people, what happens? So we're looking at all of that as we've expanded our research. Also, scientists have told me that, look, this field is going a lot further than 1 meter. This is a magnetometer's reading. Instrumentation, if we had it, could be detecting it much, much further. And then when you apply basic understandings of quantum physics to this field, and I'm certainly no quantum physicist, but one of the principles in quantum physics is you remove the traditional barriers of time and of space. So if you put that kind of an understanding around the heart's field, it could be almost infinite. And so non-scientifically, but intuitively, I can say that I believe it's through the heart's field that we connect to everything, to the universe itself, to our own larger self, and to every living system, everything that is in the universe. We are connecting to that through the heart's field. And that's your 4 ways.
Oh my God, I love all of that so much. And again, I love that you have taken, dense research, especially with the first 3, but with all 4 points and made it really accessible, because I think that that's what's so important right now is that people have to be able to receive and then implement this information, and I 100%. I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh my God, this is so perfectly intertwined with human design. Do you know anything about human design at all?
A little, yeah.
Because we really talk about the aura. We talk about, our bubble, our energetic bubble that we're in all the time, and how a bunch of us take in other people's energy and reflect it back. And others, some people do more of that and some people do less of that. And I really feel that what you were talking about, how the heart connects us to everything, is just so spot on. I know for me personally, it's been a massive game changer, really understanding what heart brain coherence is, and practicing something that puts me in that state every day. And again, I loved early on you said something about the cells and they're all moving together and it's about the pulse. And I was like, wow, again, it's the cells are all dancing to the same beat. They're all,
That's
it's
right.
this beautiful dance. Like when we can get everything to dance in time, that's when magic happens, or alignment happens, or when life feels like flow instead of
Mhm.
stress.
Allow me to speak to that, if I may. I'm going to go
Yeah,
back to your
please.
I'm going to go back to your original question.
Love it. Bring it.
Tell me what heart brain coherence is. Well, here's the way that I'll extend the story now. So, with that understanding, we wanted to begin to measure it further and to see what the optimal states were of heart brain body communication. And we found a medical discipline that was being used called heart rate variability analysis. That's measuring the timing between heartbeats, not the heartbeat itself, but between the heartbeats. And I will explain, but I want to say something before I do. You're in Australia. I don't know where your listening audience is, probably all over the world, but you're an Australian. The first people to do heart rate variability were Australians. They were using it to try to measure the health of a fetus inside the womb.
Wow. Look at us Aussies go. I think
Yeah, they were.
I
So
think this is
anyway,
like the
heart rate
second
variability.
podcast in a row I've had someone say, yeah, this was initiated in Australia. Woo,
Yeah,
go
well, it's
Aussies.
great for Australia. Great for the Australians. So basically, it's like the heart's communication is being registered in the heart rhythms. You can just call heart rate variability heart rhythms. Our heart. If we go to a doctor, the doctor says your heart rate's 75 beats a minute. I didn't used to ever think about that. I thought my heart was beating in the sort of rhythmic, steady rhythmic pattern of 75 beats a minute, like somebody on an exercise machine. Never the case. It's constantly fluctuating depending on what we were doing. Moving my hands like that right now is changing the rhythm that's going on, because the heart is responding to that and changing rhythm to pump blood appropriately for whatever I'm doing. So the heart is constantly changing rhythmic beating pattern. And when you begin to look at and analyze these patterns, some interesting things unfold. Now, most researchers thought that heart rate variability was in what's called an involuntary response. You had no control over it. It was simply the heart doing what I just said, functioning in a way that would be appropriate for the body's need and movement. One of the chief researchers of heart rate variability was a guy named Dr. Donald Singer at Northwestern University. He was like one of the kings of heart rate variability. Yeah. And he ended up in a dialogue with their director of research. And our director of research told him that you could learn how to modulate and change your heart rhythms. He said, no, you can't. It's impossible. He ended up visiting us and he went into our research labs and they brought in some test subjects and demonstrated that this was possible. He was amazed. He ended up co-authoring a paper with our scientists. That was the first big paper we ever had. It was a paper published back, I think, 1994 now, all the way back then, or 95, in the American Journal of Cardiology, big prestigious journal.
Nice.
And what we were showing him is that if you weren't moving and you weren't talking, but you began to change your emotional state, that your heart rate variability patterns, the heart's rhythms would change. Test subjects in our lab, they're not moving, they're not talking. You ask them, feel frustration for me right now. What's frustrated you lately? So they began to feel that feeling. Heart rhythms become chaotic, irregular, jagged. Like if you see a picture of it, it's like an earthquake. Then you say to the person, now, don't do that now. What I want you to do is appreciate something in your life. Once you appreciate the good things in your life. So they began to shift emotional state. Almost instantly, the heart rhythms respond. Now they become smooth sine wave-like patterns, like rolling hills. Now, when you're in that heart rhythm pattern that's a rolling hill. This is to what you said earlier. That's flow. That's internal flow.
Yeah.
That's when all the body systems are synchronizing and working together in harmony. So it's a healthy state. It's actually a high performance state. Because less energy is being wasted. Everything's synchronized. Everything's synced up. That translates into our experience of life, into what we draw back in life, into the term you used, the magic that we sometimes
Yeah.
create. You can see that reflected in the heart rhythms. Once we understood that, we developed technology anybody could use to measure their own heart rhythms and to train themselves how to shift into those coherent states. Today, we do that through what's called the HeartMath app.
Oh my God, I need it. My friend has the little device and everything. She's in.
Well,
Do you
the one
ship
we
out
came
to
out with,
Australia? Because I need to get me one of those.
well,
I'm like, I need one.
yeah, they call the HeartMath app. You can download it from free, Emma, from the App Store. You can try it for 7 days for free. There's two ways you can get your heart rhythm. You can see that whole coherence thing. One is to get a sensor, which is the best way. You put it on your ear, and it
Yeah,
just
that's the thing my friend's
the
got.
other way
Definitely
is
want
that we
that.
developed in this new app. We developed the ability to get it from your finger, placing it on the back of your camera on your phone.
Wow, that's
The
brilliant.
light on the camera sends information through the finger, and it picks it up, and you can measure your coherence. You can get the app and try it for free for 7 days, so you can measure your
Amazing. We'll put all
coherence.
the links in the show notes, peeps. Don't worry.
Right. But that app, by the way, not only measures, and then what's really cool about that app is it measures and teaches. There's a content section in there with 25 hours or more of audio guides and videos and techniques and audio books, and the whole thing, HeartMath, is in that app.
I'm so
But again,
excited.
but when we came out with that technology back around the year 2000, 1999, now we had something that people could use, not just scientists, not just doctors, but somebody could take into their own home and use it. And then it developed over the years into what we have today, which is mobile applications on your phone, and it was a game changer. It was a game changer for HeartMath. It was also a game changer for what we could do and how we could serve the world. And so millions of people have those devices and use them in one form or another. And it gave us the ability to go deeper into places like medicine, deeper into places like training programs in mainstream organizations. It just opened the door for a whole new world, because now we took the science and turned it into a technology that anyone can own.
Yeah.
You, me, anyone.
Yeah.
And today, I mean, there may be people that can never afford a sensor, but most people have a smartphone of some kind.
Well, I know
And
for me personally, like I just learnt the technique. And as much as I can't record it, I can feel it. And I'm absolutely all over like getting the app, getting the device. But I think that's the thing that, I mean, I speak to so many people, so many entrepreneurs, and some of my all-time favorites are, people like you guys that create something that's accessible to everyone. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not hard and complicated. It
yeah.
really is something that's been created for everybody. And I just love it.
Well, you don't have to have the technology to do hard. That's for sure. I mean, the techniques that we have are simple as they are probably the most important part of HeartMath. The technology was adding a layer to that.
Yeah.
It's what it did. But we were doing HeartMath seminars and programs and trainings all over the world before we ever had technology.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
the technology was there, it just amplified everything. It
Yeah.
just took it to another level. But and the technology trains you to be able to do it in without technology. It trains you to be able to do it in the middle of your day.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Me sitting here before our time together doing a little heart focus technique, just so I'd be as clear as I could be this late in my afternoon.
sorry.
It's okay to be able to have this conversation with you.
Mm.
So it's about taking any of this stuff, Emma, and how do we put it in our life in a meaningful way? I'm not a scientist. I'm surrounded by them and have learned enough to be able to have this type of conversation. But at the end of the day, for me, it's about what's this going to do for the single mother working two jobs trying to put food on her table.
And you know what? Like that in itself resonates with me. I literally, before we got on here, I went to tea ceremony. And as soon as I sit down in tea ceremony, so I'm there for an hour, we're in silence, it's beautiful. There's a room full of people. So of course we can drop into meditation so much quicker. And sure enough, I'm like hand on heart doing my heart coherence meditation. I trained in Vedic meditation, and I remember, I think it was Greg Braden once, I just heard him say, actually, if you do the heart coherence meditation first and then go in, you'll drop in deeper. And I was like, wow, that's so good. And the thing that I really love about this, and I want to talk about, like, what is it actually doing? Because one of the most important moments in my life that the heart coherence meditation really showed up for me and for my son was my son. I think he would have been 12 at the time. He was in a head-on collision with his father, and at the time, because of his father's phone, the phone called me straight away as soon as the accident happened, and his father passed the phone over to Oscar, and I just said, "Okay, buddy, what I want you to do is I just want you to pop your hand on your heart. I want you to breathe in and out. And I just took him through this whole process to really help him kind of release the trauma, the fear. And I look at this kid years on and think, holy crap, like it made such a difference that I had that in the moment, something that I could teach a 12-year-old to do. It would only take him a little amount of time, and it really helped him with something that could have been a trauma response for years,
Well, that story is amazing. I don't have anything to add because that's the kind of story that warms my heart. I know that that's what happened, and that it can happen to so many people.
Yeah.
But your story is a beautiful one, and it shows the power of simple things like that, of heart, And I think it's a beautiful story.
Thank you. Are you looking to build a successful human design or astrology business? Do you wish that you had your own chart tool on your website so you don't have to send people somewhere else to get it? Bodygraph.com provides all the resources you need to turn this vision into a reality. We use this incredible software in our business to provide charts and custom reading reports at the click of a button, generate leads, and bring in lots of passive revenue. Bodygraph.com has already helped coaches and entrepreneurs generate over $2.5 million in revenue. If you're ready to take your business seriously, start with a free trial and use the code Human Design Podcast to get 30% off for 6 months. Here's what you can do with Bodygraph.com. Embed stunning charts directly into your website, build personalized lead magnets to grow your email list, create and sell detailed reading reports, and even use their free website builder to get started fast. Bodygraph.com is the ultimate all-in-one platform for building your human design or astrology business. If you're ready to join the community of successful entrepreneurs, visit bodygraph.com and start building your dream business today. Follow the link in the show notes and use the code Human Design Podcast to get 30% off for 6 months. So let's talk about, we now know that once we have everything dancing to the same beat, that the heart's there, it's leading, it's literally this energetic bubble that we're moving around in the world. And how specifically let's talk about heart-brain coherence. I mean, I know that I use it a lot in work. Every meditation I do in my community, it starts with that. Let's talk about trauma, because I think this is a really important topic, because there are so many people talking about trauma now and how to heal it and how to process it. And I feel like a lot of the work that you guys have done is a way that, every time you go into heart coherence meditation, that's helping you process trauma. Is that correct? Or am I making that up?
Absolutely. It sure is. I mean, trauma is everywhere right now. And we do address it. One of our most popular courses that people take online from us is a trauma course. It's delivered it was designed for trauma professionals. And not long ago, we decided, let's make it available for anybody. And the uptake on it was really surprising. How many people wanted to take this course, even though they're not a psychologist, they're not a doctor, they're not taking it for professional reasons, they were taking it for personal reasons,
Yeah.
And so, anytime you can get into a more coherent state, you're going to have your own sense of self-security enhanced and increased. You're going to have your own perceptual insights about the situation that you're in and how you may be able to handle it. It provides, to me, access in your heart, whether it's through HeartMath or through anything, is that place where you do find sort of the healing, let's put it that way, a term inside. People talk about a broken heart and everything, but it's really the heart that actually comes back and heals the broken things.
Yeah.
And I think trauma is something that's very sensitive. We have professionals here at HeartMath on staff that really work with that and deal with that, not me. And it's a tough situation. But when we looked into trauma, we were working with people who were professionals on high levels in it. We were working with people who had been through it, at ways that I don't even want to describe, the events in life that had created the trauma in them, and finding out how this could work for them. So a lot has been put into trauma. And I think in these times, there are a lot of type of emotional states where they're just all the way to trauma. There are some in between that are really important to address, like the anxiousness that people are feeling. Anxiety is big right now.
Yeah.
The sense of feeling overwhelmed. Just so much happening so fast, and so much confusion in so many people's lives. These are the things that we address, and that I'll spend most of my time figuring out how to address. In the app, for example, that I mentioned, the HeartMath app, my role in the development of that app was is being in charge of developing the content that went in it, not the technology part, but what learning is going to be in this app. That was my role in it, because you need to learn things. There's many different things out there that people can try. HeartMath's just one of them. And I applaud any system or any way in which people are being taken deeper within to make the kind of connections they need within themselves to deal with the challenges that we face today. So I think that the next step for humanity is to recognize the beauty and power that they have within themselves to create the changes they need to create. We are more creative than we realize. We have more co-creative capacity than we realize. One of the keys to that is through becoming better selves, more coherent. And the more coherent we become, the more of that co-creative ability comes to the forefront. It's enhanced. And so getting heart, brain, body to communicate at a physiological level is one aspect of it. And it's certainly symbolic of something much larger, of a synchronization between all that we are within ourselves. And we become better versions of ourselves. And when we do that, we do have the ability to change things. Doesn't mean we get life perfect. Doesn't mean things don't go wrong. Doesn't mean that the challenges are not going to still be there to some degree, but we have a greater ability to change that than we could possibly realize. And if nothing else, we have the ability to make peace with the situations that we're confronted with in life.
I think that's so important, to make peace, because, in the world we live in at the moment, we're in such a rush, or we don't like something, we want to stop, or we want to, we're resisting. And I think one of the greatest things we can learn is peace. And I know for me personally, just practicing these meditations and these exercises has been such a way that I can get my mind out of what's going on out there and anchor back in here, so I can actually hear what it is that my heart's trying to tell me, or my soul, or my higher self, or whatever. And on that note, the word that you just said that just kind of sparked interest in me is creativity. So there's two, in fact, would it be possible at the end of the podcast if you could take us through an exercise that we could do
We're going to do that. Yeah,
awesome.
I'd love to.
Brilliant. Okay. But before we go there, I'd love to really talk about, a lot of my listeners and me personally, we're here creating businesses where, this is a business that can give us the sovereignty and the freedom to live life on our own terms, but it's also something that we want to create to have an impact in the world.
Yeah.
So I'd love to really talk about the heart and creation, manifestation, all of those things, when we're actually working in a coherent state. I mean, I don't know if you've done any research around this, but how is it going to improve our business? How is it going to improve the way that we manifest, consciously co-creating with the universe, instead of maybe banging around in the dark, if that makes sense?
Yeah, sure. I think what you're speaking to is people want to have purpose in their life, whether it's through the businesses or the things that they do. Here's what I have to say about that, Emma, is that adding heart to the process never takes away from the ambition and drive that we have for what we want. As a matter of fact, to really have fulfillment, I think it's essential. very often in life, we think we know what we want, but we really don't in many cases. And that what we really want doesn't necessarily fit with what our personality thinks we want. But yet, at the end of the day, it can be very, very fulfilling, for that. I'll go back in time now and refer back to something at the very beginning of our interview. I started playing drums when I was 9 years old. By the time I was in my early 20s, I was playing with people that had records out. And it was a whole thing for me, a whole career. I thought that was my purpose. That's what I wanted. And I had plenty of ambition to support that. And yet it really wasn't what was meant to be. And I had to surrender all that at some point, because I knew inside here, not inside here, that something else needed to unfold. That became an important decision. You mentioned making choices in the beginning of our conversation. That was an important choice for me, maybe the most important one I ever made. I changed trajectory. I changed path. I changed blueprint. I changed roads I was walking on by giving up this one and going into this one. The tricky part of that was I had no idea what this one was going to be. And I had to jump off the cliff, so to speak, to make that happen. But I think that to manifest what's best for us, we have to turn to the heart a bit more. We have to be able to surrender some of the personality and mind-driven ambition to let life unfold in a way that's going to be most fulfilling. You, me, and a lot of people know plenty of successful people who got what they wanted at one level and ended up very unfulfilled in the process of
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
People that made it very successful, made a lot of money, a lot of that stuff, but yet they are not happy.
Yeah.
And I have plenty of friends like that.
Yeah, same.
Who contact me to ask me about things because their life's not going like they thought it would. Yet I know what their external life is, and it looks like it should be fabulous, but somewhere it's not. Right?
Yeah, their heart's not full, right?
That's right. And so to have true fulfillment, you have to be willing to be flexible about what life wants you to be. And you then follow that, and it begins to unfold. It doesn't mean you give up your dreams or your hopes or your ambitions, or you don't form that business. I mean, you do all those things, but include something else in the process besides the standard linear approach to these things. HeartMath, and what HeartMath is today, happened through a nonlinear process. It should have never happened.
Yeah.
You don't take a group of people who have nothing to begin with, who want to put a heart-based system into a relatively heartless world that turns into something like this.
Yeah.
It was nonlinear the whole time. And I'm waking up to that more now than ever before. I'm starting to see more and more of that in myself right now as my own consciousness begins to continue to unfold. Just how nonlinear this whole thing has been, And so, by allowing things not to be in the same patterns that life appears to function in, or what everybody else does, and allowing things to unfold, you can end up in a place to where you have the success that you want, but it's fulfilling success. It has a sense of fulfillment in alignment with another purpose. I get asked from time to time, well, what about my purpose? How can I find my purpose? Purpose changes all the time. It's liquid. It's not static. It's not rigid. There is no central purpose. It's the purpose that modulates and flows with the waves of life. And I think that's something for people to realize too, is that purpose is something you follow, but it doesn't stay rigid. I don't want mine to be rigid.
Yeah, I totally agree. Oh my God, and I love it. The thing that you said, and it's something that I think has led me to success, is this whole idea that, having the courage to jump off the cliff. It's the not knowing. We are in this huge transformation from the mind, strategy, focus, action oriented, and all of those things are still very valuable. However, if I've learned one thing, and I've wrestled with my ego for years on it, is that the more I don't know and I follow my heart, the more goes my way. So it's been more a lesson of backing myself, backing my guidance, and being willing to jump off into the unknown. And I think that this is where all your work is so important, because we live in a world that is so full of uncertainty, and in uncertainty is the greatest potential. But we need to be able to trust ourselves and love ourselves in that space before we're willing to, inhabit it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we have to be reckless in that regard, but yeah, we have to be able to be flexible and open and surrendered to shifts and changes.
Mm.
Um, I mean, there's plenty of people that just, I'm just going to let spirit decide everything. Well, they end up, they can't pay their phone bill. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's not that. It's a balance
Mm.
in that. It's where you have what I would call an informed intuition.
Yeah,
You have enough information to kind of know what you're doing, but you're allowing for more of a flow to unfold. You're not just boxing it in with the linear understandings of it.
mm.
And to be able to let go like that and to have that self security is a part of a maturation process. And the more you mature and the more you connect with your real self, the more secure you become, the more you recognize that life is not as threatening to you as it used to feel, right?
Yeah.
And you're willing to be able to take some chances in a way, or to do things a bit differently, or to not do things that would be simply the status quo.
Mm.
And that comes from being able to trust in the flow of life and to trust in yourself and your ability to handle things. That takes maturation. It takes a little time. It's not an overnight process. And again, it grows too. Uh, the quickest way I know to do that, though, is to surrender to, again, listen to and following your heart. People ask me, how did all these things happen to you? Well, I said it in the beginning. I listened to and followed my heart.
Mm.
It doesn't, but there's a pragmatic side to that.
Mm.
The heart's intelligence, what it offers us is a lot of wonderful emotions, but it's also giving you real discrimination and clarity of thought and feeling and perceptual ability
Yeah.
to see into things, right? So you're not blind in it at all.
Mm-mm. No,
Um,
couldn't
so
agree more.
as far as business goes, I mean, I have a lot to say about that. That'd be another conversation, I think. I have my own views about business. I'm what I would call, in a way, a reluctant business person. Uh, I'm much more of a creative person.
Yeah.
Whatever business I do here at HeartMath, and the role that I have as an executive here, it came over time. It was not an ambition that I had for it. I didn't ask for it. I didn't pursue it. I didn't posture myself to gain those credentials or position. But as needs came up, I began to try to fill those needs.
Yeah.
And so it became something of doing what was needed to be done for the organization or the mission of the organizations, and it ended up in the role that I'm in today. But it's not a preference that I have necessarily. And business itself is going through its own transitions and modulations. Uh,
Mm.
Ambition alone is not going to create success anymore.
No, no. And I agree. I think there's a couple of things I want to respond to. And I think the business piece is something that I'm really noticing is that business, when you are a heart-led entrepreneur, the hardest thing is that you're not doing it the way everyone else used to do it, and I know for me, I'm very drawn to heart-based entrepreneurs. I work quite a bit with the guys. I don't know if you've ever heard of FLFE, the Focused Life Force Energy. Like, these two guys are brilliant, and it's the same deal. It's like they're here to help the planet. And I really think that this is where business is evolving, that we need to be less attached to what we think we want and more guided by our heart and let it unfold. And one of the things that you were talking about from the perspective of following your heart, and not just being, and you didn't use the word whimsical, but being whimsical about it, because it's one of the things that kind of bugs me about the spiritual world, where people are just kind of like, I'm just in flow and I'm just going with whatever. And I don't know about anyone else, but I am connected to my heart. I am connected to my higher self. And that part of me kicks my butt just as much as tells me that I'm amazing. It is the part of me that goes, that promise you made, you've got to keep that promise. Or you're complaining about this thing, or you don't like this thing over here. Well, you actually know what to do about it, and you just don't want to do it. So I think that's one of the things that's been really beautiful for me in business, is that I've stopped giving my power away to external strategies, mentors, gurus. It's not to say that I don't have those people in my life, but I don't give my power away. I don't think, well, you know better than me. Instead, I'm like, okay, like, where am I going? What am I doing? And I'll put myself in situations where I'm not the smartest one in the room. In fact, I like not being the smartest one or the most educated one in the room, because you have so much to learn. But that's what I love about this connection to the heart, is if you're really honest with yourself, it's giving you everything you need, and it's putting you in the right place, the right time, with the right people and the right opportunities.
Well, I think what you're describing is important. I like the way you languaged it. I think whatever we want to do today, there has to be a degree of meaningfulness in it.
Mm,
It's time for action. It's not time for passivity. It's a time to create and not wait. Um,
I
we
love
need
that.
to find the flows. We need to work with the energetic momentums that are there and all of that. And at the same time, there's got to be a forward movement on our part. There's got to be some oomph put behind it, and like you said, you make a promise to do something, you need to do it. If you want something to change, you take action to change it, right? There's got to be some self-empowerment involved in this. It's there. It's within each and every one of us. It's again part of, if you connect to your deeper self, what people like to call their authentic self, I think that's all related to heart. And then you apply that. You have to apply it. And it's a time now to make some smart moves.
Mm,
The good news is that even with the chaos and confusion we see today, and all the problems associated with that, we are in a place now where we have the ability to make changes within ourselves and to make changes in our lives and to make changes in the world at a heightened level, more so than ever before, I believe, in the history of humankind.
agreed.
And that's the hope that I have, and that's the excitement of it all for me, is to say we are doing it, and it's better than we think. We're headed in the right direction, despite what things look like at times.
Yeah.
Things are on track. It's through the many, many millions of wonderful people doing great things in the world today that it's offsetting a lot of the problems. In other words, the problems are bad, but they could be worse, right?
Yeah. And the
And
old system has to break before the new system can really come in.
yeah,
So,
so we're seeing all that. We're seeing systems breaking down. We're seeing old beliefs becoming challenged. There's so many things that we're experiencing right now that are representative of that. And so I think that I liked what you said. I mean, it's important that we find that balance between letting go and letting life unfold and those kind of things. There's a place in there, and then it's combined with the action that we take.
yeah.
Now, I don't know if you remember these. I'll use an analogy. A number of years ago, there were these pictures that got popular, and what they were these. You see a bunch of dots, right?
Yep.
And if you got just in the right place, the dots would like turn into this picture. Well, I used to try those things, and mostly what I got was a headache. But every now and then I'd find that place to where I was focused and relaxed at the same time. And as I got to that place where my focus was there, I was trying to see the dots, but yet I let go a little bit, then the picture would sort of come out. Same thing with life. We have the
Yes.
focus, we relax a little bit, the picture begins to unfold. We holographically create something different,
Yes.
and we step into it. And it's that stepping into it part that sometimes gets missed in this.
Mm.
There's a doingness in all of this.
100%. 100%. And, I'm a big believer that our souls are, with that we're in earth school, and our souls did not come here just to live a linear mediocrity kind of life. They came here to grow. So, and grow is uncomfortable. Like, people, we know this, right? Growth is uncomfortable. You can't avoid that.
It is.
But it's so worth it. I often think I've got a beautiful hike that I do here most days. And there's one uphill, there's actually a number of uphill pieces, but there's one specific set of stairs that for some reason it's really hard. And I get to the top of it every time, and my heart feels like it's beating out of my chest. And every time I do it, I just think, you know what? You're welcome, heart. Like, you're getting stronger. This is so good for you. But God, I don't like it. I don't enjoy it, but I know that it's so good for me. So I think that's what is so important about growth and about everything, is we need to know that
Right.
it's good for us. That's what we came here to
Yeah.
be.
I have an idea.
Let's do it.
Let's do a heart lock-in together, a short
Let's go.
heart focus technique with you. And I feel like I'm about ready for one. I've talked plenty.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
I'm not sure I'm staying as coherent as I'd like to be. Let's tune things up again. What I'm going to do now is share with everyone listening a simple HeartMath technique, and I'll guide everybody through it. The first step, and you can do this with your eyes open or closed. I think eyes closed, if you can, is better. But what I'd like you to do now is focus your attention in the center of your chest, which would be the area of the heart. Just kind of feel like, you're pulling energy down into that area of the body. And if things have been moving fast for you right now, just try to slow it all down a little bit, find a little bit calmer, more sense of stillness, and focus your attention in the area in the center of your chest, the area of the heart. If it helps you, put your hand there. Now, with your focus there, what I want you to do is I want you to begin to breathe naturally and normally in a rhythm that's comfortable for you, maybe a little deeper than what you usually do. And as you breathe, I want you to imagine as if your breath is flowing in and out through the area of the heart where you have your focus. We'll do that together now for a few breaths. Now I'd like you to continue to breathe this way. This is called heart-focused breathing. I want you to activate a regenerative, uplifting emotion. I'll help you. Maybe right now you can feel appreciation for the good things in your life. Just a little appreciation right now as you do the heart-focused breathing. Or maybe you can feel the love or care you have for someone or something in your life. Could be a person. Could be a place. Could be an accomplishment. Could be your pet. And just feel that feeling as you continue to breathe in and out through the area of the heart. Don't force it. Just make it a gentle process. Could just be a feeling of peace or calm or well-being. And as you do that, I'll explain what's happening inside your body. Right now, your nervous system is synchronizing. It's called the autonomic nervous system. It's becoming more synchronized. The signals going from heart back to brain are opening up the higher perceptual centers of your brain. You're creating more coherent heart rhythms. And these rhythms are causing the body to trigger hormones that are regenerative. You're releasing more hormones like more DHEA and more oxytocin into your system. You're becoming more coherent as you continue to do heart-focused breathing and just gently feeling regenerative, uplifting emotion. And that's opening you up for something larger. It's opening up for more of your best self, for your higher self, for your own spirit, to begin to merge more with your humanness, with your day-to-day, to become part of you in the day-to-day environment. Let's take it one step further. I want you to softly radiate whatever you're feeling outward into the field. You've got your heart's field. Let's use that heart field and let's send that feeling out into whatever place or environment you're in right now. And just gently send it out. Don't force it. Like it could be like the golden glow from a lantern coming out from the center of your chest, fueled by that feeling of love or care or peace that you're feeling right now. And because the heart feels may be infinite, let's send that out as an act of service to people wherever they are in the world, going through hardships, going through hard times, going through suffering, and make an energetic contribution to their well-being. It's a form of service that's unseen, but yet very powerful. So just gently radiate that feeling out from the area of the heart. Okay, thank you. If you've had your eyes closed, you can open them. And that was basically a simple heart math technique. The first part was called heart focused breathing. I added the emotion that becomes what's called the quick coherence technique. And then lastly, included the radiational component of it and becomes what's called the heart lock in.
Mm.
And these are techniques you can do anytime, anywhere. We didn't take a lot of time with that, just a few minutes, a couple, 3 minutes to do it together. But it's something that can provide a lift in spirit for you.
Mm.
Lifting is healthy, it's beneficial to every part of who you are as a person. To slow down every now and then and make contact with your own best friend, the heart.
Mm. Oh my God, I love that. Thank you so much, Howard, for being here. This has been fantastic.
I want to thank you for having me. You're wonderful. We come
Thank
on these
you.
podcasts, and I don't know my host yet. In a moment like now, I'm glad I met you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you and to the entire team. I feel like this has been such a massive part of my life and my community's life because I share it so often. And thank you so much for all the amazing work you're all doing in the world, making the world a more loving place.
Well, good. Well, I'd hope that you'll maybe go download the HeartMath app from your favorite app store, and that people listening will do the same thing. And you can measure your coherence, but you can also learn a technique like we did just now. All that stuff in the app, and some of it's actually my voice guiding it. If that makes any difference, right? But
Love
in
it.
other people's voices, well, you can be helped that way to
Yeah.
find your heart. Because what I want for people is to find something that they already have. That beautiful, magnificent heart and the intelligence of the heart that each and every human being has within them.
I love it. And it's free. Our heart's free, like I think this is the beauty of it. Again, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who has been listening. I trust you got what
Yeah.
you needed from today's
Yeah.
episode. And yeah, I look forward to having you all on the next one. And thanks again, Howard.
Yep. Thanks very much. Have me back. Bye now. See you,
Definitely.
everyone.
Okay. Bye.